Hello and welcome back to Share Dakes. My name is Dakes and I'm happy that you're here today. Thank you for stopping by. If this is your first time here, thank you. And if you are a returning guest or subscriber, thank you too. I'm very happy that you came back. I hope that you've subscribed to my channel. If you've not, please do that now. The button is right there. Um, please subscribe, like, share this video with your family and friends, and let's get this movement going. So today I'm going to be talking about finding your French school. As you might imagine, there are a ton of things that go into the choice of school, especially at the master's level. So if you've decided what country you want to school in or not, I think like maybe that's the first step, or maybe knowing what you want to do and then finding the countries or the schools that offer that best might also be like another way to process. I'm going to share a couple of tips that might help you in finding your French school. So in this case, I'm saying finding your French school because I'm assuming that if you're watching this, you're interested in studying in France. So my first tip is figure out your career goals. So for you to be trying to do a master's degree, I want to assume that on some level, except if you plan to do a PhD and go into academia, you plan to use this some time down the line, essentially. So what is it exactly that you want to do with your life or in the near future? Knowing that will let you know where you are right now, the kind of skills that you should be getting that will help you get to that point, and how that translates into a master's course. So what master's course gives you those skills. It might not necessarily be named after the skill that you want to get, but you have to look at coursework. I want to do, I don't know, MSc in finance, for instance. What skills are they going to teach me? Would that be useful to me with respect to where I'm trying to go in my life or with my career? So that's one is to figure out your financial situation. So when you know the course that you want to do, an average search online will let you know the tuition fees, maybe by country or by school, or the average tuition fees that you would expect to pay for this kind of course. And then, of course, you have to know if you can afford it or if you have a means of sourcing the money. So if you don't have the personal funds for yourself, is there someone that can sponsor you? Is there someone that can borrow you? Or if the school offers scholarships, maybe to international students, or does the government of the country offer scholarships to international students or merit-based scholarships? There's just a ton of stuff to consider, especially when it comes to finances. So because we're specifically talking about France, I'm going to talk about your language goals as well. So the kind of school that you want to go to or the city where your school is situated should also be linked to your language goals. So if you don't speak any French at all, maybe you want to stay in a larger city where you're more likely to find more English speakers, and people who might be willing to actually speak the language to you. However, if you have, even if it's basic knowledge of French, maybe you want to go further into the countryside. The thing with that is that you might be dealing with more locals that don't speak English at all. And then, of course, if you're trying to get fluent, that will help you because it will force you to speak, it will force you to listen and understand what they're saying. Because obviously, you have to relate with people, you have to move from one point to another, you have to buy groceries, you have to rent your accommodation, you have to deal with like plumbing, carpentry, all those things. Like you need to talk to people essentially. You need to make friends as well. And you cannot have friends if you can't communicate in the same language or something. Then the next thing is to consider your lifestyle. So are you a city person or are you a country person? So depending on where you're from or what you like as your ideal kind of life, you can determine if you want to stay in a city or the country. City living comes with its hustle and bustle. So I usually tell people that Paris is like Lagos with the bustle but without the hustle. So yeah, it depends on what you're looking for. If you just want to chill, relax, not have to deal with that fast life or something, then maybe you want to go to the country. France is a very beautiful country and there are lots of beautiful cities and towns. So like not being in Paris doesn't mean that you're missing out on anything. So yeah, just putting that out there. Actually, I think that there are lots of cities in France that are actually more beautiful than Paris. So it depends on what it is that you're looking for essentially. But then also consider like work opportunities. So if you need to work, maybe you don't want to go to a place that is too remote, especially if you don't have great language skills, because obviously, even if there are jobs, they might not be in English and you would struggle with that. Whether you choose to stay in a city or in a smaller town, making friends or meeting people should not be a problem. France actually welcomes over 300,000 international students every year, and of course, they're scattered all over the country. So, trust me, wherever you are, whatever part of the country that you're in, I'm sure that there'll be other international students in your school. Of course, you will live in an apartment building, so even if they're not students, you'll meet other people. If you're trying to make friends, then you yourself have to be friendly as well. There are tons of platforms where you can meet new people. I know that if you're coming from Nigeria, there are WhatsApp groups for Nigerians in France, Nigerians in Paris. I'm sure there are for Nigerians in other cities as well. So you can meet people through those platforms. There are dating apps, but that let you find like friendships, BFFs, not necessarily romantic partners. So you can explore that as well. So if you're in a bigger city, there are a lot of after work parties or get together that you can also attend. It gives you an opportunity to meet people that are probably from other countries but are new in the city, or even locals if that's what you're looking for. But it is very important to make friends, and it is very important to be friendly. The other day, I locked myself out of my house in error. So I'd gone to clean the front of my house. I didn't realize that my door would not open from outside without the key. So I just shut the door with the key inside. Thankfully, I was able to get the door opened, but it was cold because I was just stepping out. I was literally just in my socks. I wasn't wearing shoes because I was just like, oh, I'm just going to clean that spot and all that. So my neighbor gave me shoes, and then she was asking me if I wanted a jacket and all that. So imagine if I hadn't met her before then, if I hadn't been friendly or didn't say hi or didn't ask her name or something, and then because I suddenly need help, or I'm stranded, I go and knock on a stranger's door and start introducing myself. Oh, c'est moi, I live next door, and all that. I mean, it doesn't mean that people would not help, but it just, I mean, it makes it easier when you already have some level of relationship or friendliness. So yeah, be friendly and go out of your way to actually meet people. Just say hello. Like everybody says bonjour in France. Like it doesn't, you don't even have to know me. Like when I'm stepping out of the apartment building, you meet people by the elevator and everybody says bonjour. Like, so imagine somebody says bonjour to you and you actually don't answer them. Like that's just somehow, that's just rude, really. And then you now need them the next day. Awkward. Like, yeah. So before you get into these situations, because they will happen, especially if you're new in the country, you would miss your way, you would mess up, you will forget to do something that will become an issue. And it is just good to already have that level of relationship with some people before you need their help. So, where should you study in France? Essentially, if you've chosen to study in either a city or a big enough town, there are lots of them, like I mentioned before. And I'm just going to mention some popular ones. Maybe you can start your research from there and see if there are any schools that offer the kind of courses that you're interested in. So I'm in Paris, so definitely start with Paris. So yeah, there's Paris, there's Lyon, there's Marseille, there's Versailles, there is Bordeaux, there is Montpellier, there is Grenoble. There's Grenoble. Lastly, a lot of people ask me whether they can do short courses in France. The answer is yes, you can do short courses in France. But then again, the big question would be, why do you want to study in France? So if you just want to upskill and go back to your country to go and use that skill, then sure, you can definitely do a short course in France or anywhere else for that matter. But if what you're trying to do is to immigrate using the study route, then a short course in France might not be ideal for you because it will not give you an opportunity to stay back to look for work or an opportunity to apply for a work permit or all of those things. because you have to have done either a bachelor's or a master's or a professional licensed course, and all of these are not short courses. There is none that will take you less than 1 year to complete. So yeah, just bear that in mind depending on what you're trying to do with this. So yes, of course there are short courses, but it depends on what your end goal is. I hope that this has been helpful to you. Remember to subscribe if you haven't, and share this with family and friends that you know would value it. Thank you, and I'll see you in my next video. Bientôt.